Hello, Music Multiverse listeners, and welcome to Beyond Your Radio's latest show of Sound Minds. This is episode 3. I don't know really how many of us have a sound mind, but hey, it's a title. We'll run with it. That opening piece of music that you hear is called Of Sound Mind. That's by Kenny GHB or Gibb. The album is Anything But Human, so stay at the end. Album credits, you'll be able to see it. Of Sound Minds, this is where we pick a topic and let our panelists, under the unique guidance and tutelage of the host, what the hell is anyway, get their opinions out and about. Tonight's topic: who might the next band or artist be that will be revered, celebrated in the music multiverse 20 to 30 years from now? What do I mean? So we have an understanding tonight? Well, what is it with Queen? They're everywhere. They're being celebrated on The Masked Singer. They're in movies. They're in my grocery store. The Eagles, the greatest hits album. Is that ever going to stop selling? I mean, come on. We all know that record won't burn out. Nirvana, that was a short stay, but they're still here and still talking about them and still wearing T-shirts, although none of these kids ever saw them. Jimi Hendrix, he might as well still be alive. Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, Bob Dylan, Elvis Presley, Rolling Stones, and of course, the Beatles. All right, so there you are. Those are the people that are revered, utterly, constantly talked about. And then there's more. Don't get me wrong. I probably left off somebody within it, but we'll get to that in a second. Speaking of going to be around for 20 to 30 years, if you're not subscribed, don't wait that long. All right, just click that subscribe button today. No, you don't even have to watch us for 20 to 30 years. Just don't unsubscribe. We won't know the goddamn difference, right? And if you have chosen, whether you watch us or not, you've chosen wisely. So let's get into Of Sound Minds tonight. On the panel, hell, 20 to 30 years from now, he'll still have seen more concerts by the Grateful Dead than I've seen in my lifetime. The Grateful Dude.
You.
He's been a dangerous mind for years. Just look at him. See, scratching his ear, scared most of our viewers away. Jeff Young on the panel.
Hold on, I want to mute while I flush. Just kidding.
Wow, that's a great toilet. I want one with that many cushions around it.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the Led Zeppelinist panelist of them all? Oh, damn. It's Deb Armitage Hicks Maloney.
I want all three of those names on the back of a jersey. Just to have to see how long that one goes.
Can be done.
I'll get you one.
According to the truths, he's a man of two minds. Alex Kaluzny, welcome to the show, crew. So let's start out by posing this to the group. Do you think it's by accident that some bands and artists have become as revered as those I'm going to mention one more time, that are constantly growing in catalog sales, being utilized in radio, television, movies? The list of those that remain in constant rotation since, I don't know, since recordings weren't even available, okay? Because obviously I'm going to say Bach. I'm going to say Beethoven. I'm going to say Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald, Frank Sinatra, Chuck Berry, Buddy Holly, John Coltrane, Miles Davis already said, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Queen, Nirvana, and the list could go a little bit further. But who are these people today? Or maybe of yesterday-ish, maybe not the 60s, maybe not the 70s, but, well, maybe 70s forward, that in 2054, they're going to be going, whatever show is on, they're all going to be going out and buying that record up like Kate Bush and Stranger Things, right? All of a sudden, that if we did this list...
I'm sorry, is there a question?
Not yet. If we did this list several years ago, would anybody have put Kate Bush on their list? I don't think so. All right. So with that, I'm going to go around the room, and the discussion can be any of us once it starts, but each will be able to list their people and tell why they believe they will be revered and remembered and be doing this again and again for years and years to come, and be talked about.
I think before I dive into a list, and this is coming from my generation's perspective, because as I think of this topic...
Not that we care about your generation's perspective.
Very much.
Generation duh.
But
my generation. There we go.
But to the point of how I got into music compared to all of you who probably grew up in at some point a lot of the music that was new to me at some point, that all of you just said, yeah, this was my era. So I think that's why music, when you look at it being revered or how it repopularizes, you have to look at the fact that once it's already there, there's going to be lineage of people who discover it for the first time. There is someone who tomorrow in this world, we don't know who, is going to hear Nirvana for the first time and like it. There's going to be someone who hears the Beatles for the first time because all they've heard is modern music and like it. So I think when we talk about the lineage topic, there's an element for me in where I grew up that's what is already revered and what hasn't been revered yet but is on the cusp of being that. Is it a year? Is it a 20-year milestone that they have to have been since their beginning?
Nope.
Like, but
Correct.
that's the
Look at Nirvana.
but that's the question
Right.
but that is almost 20 years now, more. Right.
No, but I mean, they weren't around for 20 years. You know what I mean?
Right.
They didn't have to have
No,
a great,
but I'm saying
they didn't have to have a huge catalog. They had to make one single solitary impression,
correct.
and then it exploded from there.
But that's what I'm saying is it 20 years from that mainstream impression that
No.
because I can say, is there a band that's still currently active that's only put out 2 records that could we throw them in revered? Or does there have to be some sort of time? Is there some formula with that and how much they've produced? Like, so that's a part of my question back in answering that is what's revered to me as a younger listener on this panel. It can be a different take on what's revered to the people who've grown up in some of these that for me became new even though they were established. So I think that's another question that I kind of have to retort back to you guys as we discuss who those bands are, is also how you view that timeline and that formula.
And I have a different perspective. Okay. Right now, if you guys look, because I was reading something earlier, Bob Marley is right now selling records hand over foot like it's never been sold before because of the
on
movie.
my list, that my first thing I was going to talk about, and I'm out. I'm
Goodbye.
gone.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye. Bob Marley. Exactly.
Well, no, it's just that's not the part. I'm just giving an example.
No, exactly.
But also, the reason Queen's been hot since the movie came out. A lot of it has to do with commercial success. Elvis Presley, when the Elvis Presley movie came out a couple of years back, his records were selling off. They couldn't make them fast enough. A lot of it's going to be when you have a movie made of a singer or a songwriter or something like that. Right now, they got this thing now with Bon Jovi. With Bon Jovi, they're doing that. Yeah. And Bon Jovi records are flying off the shelves. So my thing is, I think that any icon, and I'm not going to go to name any band, any icon who was popular, okay, is going to have some longevity. But when a major movie or something is released about a band or a genre or something like that, it's going to spike. It's going to spike hard. So let's say 20 years from now, they do a Grateful Dead movie, they might completely start over again. So
it's true. Like Johnny Cash became a big thing in my house with my teenagers because of Walk the Line. Right. Even though they knew who Johnny Cash was, but then they could see something. It was marketed to them in a way that they could relate to them as people too. And listen to the music as a human being, not just the music. So I think you got a point there, dude. It's marketability. And you got somebody that's probably hooked onto that, like me. I would make the best Led Zeppelin movie ever, and everybody will just love Led Zeppelin forever.
And that may still happen, you know?
Yeah. Sorry, Mark, we interrupted you.
Jeff
We always
Young,
do.
you had something you were gonna say?
Yeah.
No, I just think that if you're talking about movies, I mean, they got to have a good reason to make the movie. Either the person was successful, they had good music, or they were part of something bigger than themselves,
True.
or it was, you know, part of a human interest story, like it was a tragedy, right, at the end or something. And the movie is really just a great way globally to reintroduce people or introduce people to something they would have liked anyway at that time if they were around.
Mm-hmm. And that's more accessible now because everybody has a million ways to watch and listen to things, where 25 years ago, where would that happen? You know, we would have to go to the movie theater and be interested in that person already. Now we're all a bunch of lazy Americans and sit here on the couch and just keep clicking around, and then you find, oh, maybe I'll watch that. Oh, I didn't know about that person.
But I think
And-
part of the being revered too isn't even just music. I think it's also branding and marketing. Like if I say a certain band, you can see in your head something exactly as I say it. I say Queen, you're thinking of Freddie Mercury looking out
Yeah.
over Wembley. If I say the Beatles, you can see the Beatles in the font that it's in. If I say the Grateful Dead, you see tie-dye and skulls. Like
True.
there is a branding and marketing that becomes iconic to it.
Absolutely.
Even to Nirvana, you can see the exact t-shirt. If I say Nirvana, you're either seeing a face with two X's for eyes and a smiley face, or you see the exact font that the Nirvana
Yep.
name is in. So I think that there is something that can go for Metallica. It can go for Bob Marley. You can say it's anything weed related that he's been put on.
All right.
You know, there's a different version of that it doesn't necessarily have to be a movie. If you have the branding right too and the marketing, you'll live on as some sort of recycled popular hot topic t-shirt for years to come. And that goes for, I'd probably say 80 to 90% of probably say 90 solid of the bands that we can talk about and being revered, you can see some sort of association there.
But what I was saying about movies and groups, what I'm saying is right now we don't know. But let's say 25 years ago, nobody knows who John Legend is, but he does something to make a movie. All of a sudden, he's going to become popular again. So all it takes is a big name movie or something like that to bring popularity. I mean, Elvis is basically dead, but after that movie, he wasn't dead anymore.
But you know what made Elvis live on? And especially us Buffalo people know this? Terry Buckwald, an impersonator, something that brought his brand into that limelight for people like me who never had a flying shot in hell of seeing Elvis.
Go to Vegas and there's one in every street corner. So,
but when I say Elvis, what can you see? The white jumpsuit, the guitar, the hair. Like
at the Bills game.
There you go. A Lockport native himself.
Yeah.
I will say that toward the end of this, I will bring about my epiphany in doing this, but I'll save it for the end.
Oh no.
Let's talk about one of the bands that was already mentioned.
Okay.
And we'll see if it's on anybody's list.
Okay.
Metallica.
It has to be on Jeff's.
I didn't put it on my list. It just seemed kind of like they're so big, it's just a matter of time before someone does something about them, and they just have such a big catalog that their stuff's bound to be used in future, you know, TV shows, films, all that stuff, especially if one of them passes away.
Well, I honestly, my belief in there is that they're the surest thing for 20 to 30 because they took metal beyond popularity, beyond it's still a cult following in a way to some degree at the old stages of it. Yet the newer people, everybody goes to those shows. if they can get a ticket, you know,
Yeah.
and they would be the easiest one in that aspect. But, you know, Deb, who do you have as somebody who might be the
I
20
think
to 30?
I think Tom Petty will just always be around.
That is an excellent choice.
I just think that my kids resonated with him, even though it, obviously I introduced him to them. But it- you know, it already was done in Silence of the Lambs, the song, American
Mhm.
Girl, and
Girl.
there he is shoving that girl in the back of the van, and we know what happened with the rest of the movie. But whenever I hear that Tom Petty song, I think of that movie and vice versa. And he's just an all-American kind of songwriter. The music
Mhm.
just resonates with different things in our lives, and it never seems old to me. But maybe that's because I am old and I don't want to be old, but who knows? But that was mine, was Tom Petty was my first one.
I
I
do believe Timeless has a position in this. The music cannot be dated to the point where it will not resonate to someone 20 to 30 years from now, other than to say, oh yeah, that's old. You know what I mean? And there's some people on this list that might pertain to some degree
Yeah,
because
but
of the
you can get
recording
also, you
stuff.
get other artists that will, remake the song or remake.
Yeah.
Mhm.
the
and I'm
thing.
also I'm in a weird spot with that because I agree with Deb for mentioning him. I don't know that when I look at my peers at around my age that I agree that
Well, and yeah, that's true.
my peers have carried on the same spirit and appreciation for Tom Petty. And when I say peers, I just mean my give or take 2 years around me.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
won't. They
have
won't
carried
yet,
on that same
but they will.
appreciation.
They won't, yeah.
And
Yeah, give
that's
yourself
what'll be
another 20
interesting to
years.
see. Metallica I can see. And that's because I'm even thinking outside the box. I'm thinking of people my age who run the DJ booth, we'll call it, of arenas. You'll hear a lot more
Yeah.
Metallica than you'll hear of Tom Petty.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of also like playing a little bit of compare and contrast
There
that
you
way
go.
where
That's a good, yeah.
they'll hear Tom Petty at some point, and I would venture to say there would be 10 to 20% of people who wouldn't know it was Tom Petty but recognize the song. And
Sure.
What's
that'll
what's
continue
the
on.
most played song in a stadium?
Whew. You could do a
This
whole
should be an
episode
easy-
on this.
Nope. It's only one.
Thunder. AC/DC. No? What?
I mean, there's no way to quantify it.
What?
I
He
had
knows.
I had
Mark
5 run
knows.
through my head immediately.
Besides Take Me Out to the Ball Game,
Enter Sandman.
it would be Sweet Caroline.
And I hate it.
Just a sing
But they
along.
still do.
Just a sing along. That's all it is. Just a
Yeah.
sing along.
Sweet
Yeah. Okay.
Caroline.
You know
Yeah,
what?
you're
That's
right.
fair.
Yeah.
They don't
You
play
know-
it just at baseball. They play
But
it at the minor league games. They
It
play it
doesn't
at any
matter.
baseball stadium. It's not even. I mean, it's Boston's thing, but they don't even. I mean, it goes way
Right.
beyond Boston. It's everywhere.
They
right?
do it at weddings, for God's
You
sake.
know what the new Sweet Caroline is becoming now, though?
What? What?
Country Roads.
Oh,
That's
Yeah.
becoming the
Really?
new Sweet Caroline, where people can sing every freaking lyric to
Country Road.
Country Roads. Take Me
Speaking
Home.
of singing every lyric,
Yeah.
Yeah.
two women, Taylor Swift, Alanis Morissette. Who wins that one?
Oh,
Taylor Swift.
yeah.
And Taylor Swift's already really become kind of a pop icon. So once you're an icon,
Yeah.
it's hard to lose that.
Is
We don't even
Madonna
have to
really
think about
relevant?
20 years from now. She already is one now
Is
and will
Madonna
always
20,
be.
30 years from now?
I don't
No.
know.
Nope.
I don't think so.
Nope. I don't even think
I'm
she is now.
struggling with that idea, but there's still that past and what she
People-
did.
People know Madonna, and again, I'm speaking in terms of my peers and how these conversations have gone. People know Madonna at my age. People don't know shit about her music at this generation unless you
They just know who she
proactively
is.
seek it. Correct.
Okay.
You don't hear this on classic pop radio. Is that even a genre to discuss? But you don't hear Madonna even come back as a classic tune anymore. You might hear Vogue like twice a year, depending on your listening habits of just random.
Yeah, her being
I
on the
mean, she's
radio
on
and
every
stuff.
80s channel.
Right, but people won't even know it if you don't see who's like if you're just listening and there's no screen display of who the artist is.
Mhm.
Sorry, I could listen to a Madonna song and never even realize it.
Jeff Young, do you have somebody that to start with? Talk about?
Yeah, I was gonna mention Neil Diamond, but I think I'll say somebody else. I just think somebody like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, who have
Yeah.
Yep.
a big following. They're very eclectic. Their albums don't all sound the same. They've been in movies and films and TV spots, and they're basically their story. They must have a million crazy parts to their story, growing up as surfers and playing rock music and all kinds of different styles. And I just think it's only a matter of time before someone says, "Hey, we need to put a film together about these guys." Or I'm sure
And they got the logo. They got the logo and the branding. They got the one word name band member in it. Things that kind of seem to stick. Yep, they stick around.
They've got a song for everybody.
Yep.
Hmm.
You will hear.
I agree
them
with you,
in the-
Jeff.
in
I
the-
like that.
In a good random mix of music, you will hear a Red Hot Chili Peppers song. I 100% agree with this.
I do too.
But is that the band that people are gonna tell their kids about?
Yeah.
I don't think so. But
I
that's
think it's
No one tells their kids about anybody. Like, the kids just find it.
Oh, do they just
Yes.
find it? Huh?
yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Nowadays,
that's
dude.
another show.
But I
That ain't in my
Accessibility,
book.
Mark.
but that is
my kids-
correct.
No, it's not
Any
correct.
fan of any band is going to tell their kid about that when they like it. If you'd like anything, you're going to tell your kids about it.
You know
Because
what
Well,
my daughter
or we don't. I mean, maybe Alex, but none of us. My kids are going up to me, and they got, "Dad, did you know this song?" Of course I did. You're hearing stuff that's been played a billion times over through TikTok
Yes.
and reutilized, right? They
Oh,
didn't know that was Kate Bush. They had no idea,
right.
right?
Got it.
I had to tell them who Kate Bush was. Otherwise, what happened with Kate Bush doesn't go much farther. Discussion makes it go farther. Kid's not going to hear one song and buy an album. It's not happening. First of all, they
There's
don't
gotta
have the
be
money.
talk about it.
Well,
Yeah.
They need to
It's
hear 2-3 songs from 2-3 different albums before they
Well,
consider.
my kids are the single. I
diving.
told them, I said, I do
Singles.
not think you're going to go. I do not think you're going to be digging this, the rest of it. I don't think your wheelhouse goes there, right? That is 80s synth progressive pop rock. And
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
easy to swallow.
Jeff, to what you
right?
were saying too.
Well, what I was trying to say was it doesn't, at this point, record sales and those kind of things are never going to be a huge factor again because of things like Apple Music and Spotify and all those other stuff. You don't have to go down and buy a record store. Mark tells me about a new band or something. I can look it up, listen to it. That's it. I think that's the way of the future. In 20 years, there will be nothing but digital. There will be no records.
We already went down that path. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
We tried twice.
We have, but the amount of records and the amount of CDs sold are 1/1000th of what they used to be. And it's slowly going out. And, we've never had a generation yet, like Everett and stuff like that, who are all their whole life has been digital. There hasn't been anything else.
I'm in a generation of people looking for vinyl and looking for record players.
Vinyl right
Yes,
now has had the greatest sales of all time.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I understand, but
And how much of that's Taylor Swift?
She
too much.
started, yeah.
But in 20 years, I can't bet you because I won't be around in 20 years. But you can put it on my grave, Mark. So
All right.
you were right or I was wrong. One or the
Say
other.
that.
We'll put a check mark. There's a checkbox, yes or no. So, Grateful Dude, who do you have in the 20 to 30 years from now?
Okay, first of all, I have to mention this, and this is going to be really short and sweet. There's no way the Grateful Dead will not be known in 20 years, 50 years, or 100 years. because there are right now over 5 million followers of the Dead worldwide. Look on their site. They have and they are definitely the ones. If your dad or mom is a Deadhead, you're not gonna have any choice but listening to Dead 24/7. Okay, it's just those kind of things. Now,
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
What if they don't tour?
You could end up like Jeff Young and just say, "No, screw it, I'm leaving." But
First off, 5 million Dead followers is just strictly a Ticketmaster queue for a Taylor Swift concert nowadays.
yeah, it
No,
is.
But the second part to that is, I think the Grateful Dead, and this is going to be a little controversial for you. I think the Grateful Dead are very similar to Madonna in the sense that people will know who they are, but maybe not recognize the music. A vast majority.
I totally disagree with that. Madonna never had 5 million followers that are current right now. Never.
Fair.
I don't know. I wouldn't know. Let's put it this way. If she played Wembley?
Probably. I'm gonna look it up. It's worth a Google.
Yeah, I'm thinking
She just sold out Tampa, and tickets were minimum $200 to $1,000. Like, I mean, it's not like she's not relevant.
21,000. I'm just saying, if it I get what the Grateful Dude is saying, that as a band, they have followers that are constantly and utterly devoted and into them, and any band that is slightly in that wheelhouse to some degree, and that's predominantly where they're at. Most Madonna fans are probably 5 million come in, 5 million go out, 5 million come in, 5 million go out, 5 million. You know what I mean? Like a wave. That'd be my guess. You know, except for record people like me, but
very few Deadheads
devoted,
become ex-Deadheads.
Correct.
I don't think they would ever become ex-Deadheads. I think there's fewer and fewer getting into them.
I don't agree. I do not.
That would be an interesting understanding.
I would venture to say that every single artist
you're not a part of the Dead circle, so you don't know. But they just did a Dead thing, and there was some 2 bands that showed up that were Dead copy bands. Okay, it was mainly for teenagers. This was in Denver, Colorado. 35,000 kids showed up under the age of 18.
Wow, that's impressive.
Well,
that surprises me.
I went to 3 festivals last year. Okay.
What, Jeff Young? What did you say? I missed your.
No, go ahead, Deb.
Okay.
No. Oh, are we gonna fight about it? No, I went to 3 different festivals last year that had all different genres of bands, and every time I went by or stopped to listen to the band that was a tribute band to the Grateful Dead, I was the oldest person there, and I don't want any comments from you. But almost everybody else was in their 20s and 30s.
That is really interesting, but I think also maybe the circle that I'm around, and I know this is part of the conversation.
Well, they're damn hockey players.
No.
Yeah, they'll listen to country and violent music.
Yeah, hanging around with weed smokers.
No, I'll argue this one too, because not a lot of people stomach the stuff that I listen to in the hockey realm. I have had from coaching my generation of players that beneath me of age have looked at me and went, "What the are you listening to?" When my metal and hardcore shit comes on, they can't stomach it. It's rap or country, period, or EDM and house music mixes of everything. The big
Jacob Collier.
Well,
maybe he's going to be the one renowned for.
One of these days, Alec, you're going to get a friend who is in your age that is a Deadhead. First
I got to get a friend. That's the first part.
You got 5 of them right here. We all love you.
No, there's only 4 of you.
Well,
He's a Deadhead. He's been smoking weed.
Hey, he sees 2. He's seen 2 of Jeff.
yeah.
Jeff
Oh
Jeff
my
has
God.
multiple personalities, so
There you go.
At least-
Economist too.
At least
Good
two that
one.
we know of.
Oh, you guys.
Alex, who
Oh
do you have
wait,
on your
oh
list
wait,
then?
the fifth is the cat.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's it.
yes,
The
okay.
The
I
cat
know
likes
that
it.
Alex being the youngest here, I mean, all I can say is from experience, and I think everyone will agree with me, is that your tastes in music don't necessarily change, but they will certainly expand as you grow older.
Correct.
Yes, they expand for sure.
But I
You
think
will
that's
appreciate things you didn't realize you appreciated like years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I hear songs now from like the older songs that I just remember my mom or dad had on the radio. I'm like, yeah, that was really a good artist.
Mhm.
No wonder they were listening to that. No, I
no,
appreciate
I
it.
I entirely think that's
Yeah.
correct, but that's why I argued Jeff's point before, Chef Jeff, about saying that there's such a thing as ex-deadheads, because I don't think your taste does change. I think it just expands, and
But those
like,
are
Yeah.
the dead
And-
are special.
but-
The dead are
No, but-
very special. Unlike
but I don't.
any
But I
other
don't think
band
people
in the world.
become ex-fans of bands as much. I think they cannot
I'm
like
an
future
ex-fan of a
albums
lot
made.
of bands. There's
You're
a
an
lot
ex
of
what?
stuff that I used to listen to that I don't anymore.
Really?
I thought Martin
That's
Scorsese was
interesting.
doing a Grateful Dead movie.
I'm sorry, there has already been two.
That's interesting to hear that you've become an ex-fan of bands, because I don't think that I've had bands that I really liked the first 2-3 albums, then I don't like some of the stuff they put out after, and I went, man, I just really like their earlier stuff.
I liked it. Well, and that's the thing. I don't listen. That should be the word. I don't listen to them
Okay.
anymore.
You stop
Okay.
I'll
listening.
give you
Yeah.
when I was young, I listened to BTO all the time. Now I think my only time I listen to them when Mark forces me to listen to a BTO album and stuff like that. So
That's the better way to put it, because when I hear that,
there's a
I'm
better
thinking
show
you like
too, right
just
there.
swore them
Yeah.
off. and
What
you're
does
just
Mark
like,
make
nope,
us-
can't.
Bands you just said, you know what? I'm done with you. I'm just done with you. You
Correct.
throw them on the floor and leave them there. They're done.
But now
Correct.
Mark's making me talk about him again.
Yes, yes.
But that's when you say an ex-fan of a band, I'm just sitting there
Yeah.
thinking like, yeah, you just had a day one day where you're like, fuck you too, I'm never listening to them again.
Ooh. It's against the law, Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
So
definitely
I-
some bands
I just had to
listen
fire
that
a band
on the
off
radio.
in there, but I do think
So
your
Alex,
taste
who's
expands.
on your list?
Yeah. What was yours? You've talked about everything else.
Well, I like being in my age, just trying to analyze what it's like of the peers that I've grown up with from many different circles. I've been with the nerds, I've been with the athletes, I've known the common folk, I've known the musically inclined,
The common folk.
the average Joe, so to
Miss
speak.
Maloney.
But
Yes.
I've kind of crossed
Jeff
like,
the streetwalker.
when I look at my high school experience, I say that I had an into every sort of clique or genre of friend group thing that you could have.
Mhm,
So that's why when I try to analyze it as being the younger of the group, I try to mesh all that.
mhm.
What was
I
it?
mean, I got two that come to mind. It's just one of them's unfortunate, but I think this Swift thing will never fucking die as much as I want it to. So I'm just gonna go with the second. I think the Foo Fighters will live.
That was on my list too.
Ah,
Number
cool.
5.
I have a hard time believing that one will die. They have the logo you can see in your head. They're always going to have the link to Nirvana, but still be separate, because there's going to be the person who goes down the rabbit hole and it's going to discover them into that.
And they
Whether
go,
it's-
oh, what?
Whether it's Nirvana to Foo Fighters or the reverse, it's going to happen from both ways.
Mhm.
I have a hard time believing that band is going to die, and they deal with the death and they're still going. And I think that's somehow, we don't know yet because it's still too early in the infancy of when it happened. I think that's somehow going to play into the story of the band down the road.
I was,
fact
you know,
that they're
Alex,
going.
I was just driving down the road to work the other day, and the one song off of their album, I mean, the whole album obviously revolves around the passing of Tyler. I
Taylor.
was calling the
Taylor.
wrong thing. But I thought, Dave Grohl, God damn it, like, how many times do you have to see this happen so close to you? Your bestie, whoever that you collaborate with that dies of a heroin overdose. And yet he just keeps doing and doing and doing. And I think that this is a real thing that's going on in our world right now that's impacting so many people of all different generations, grandparents, parents, children, that what's going on with drug addiction and mental health. This thing with Foo Fighters is going to resonate because of that, because people are paying more attention.
I also think too, though, when I think of the connection, I said it with Nirvana to the Foo Fighters, but there's way too many ways that people will go down the rabbit hole of hearing something and it'll connect to the Foo Fighters.
MTV, they might do
this way or this way.
Yeah.
Stone
I
or
think so.
not Stone Temple Pilots, Queens of the Stone Age, them Crooked Vultures, if somehow someone stumbles upon that. Anything from the 90s grunge era that can contain like Pat Smear in it that'll link back. There's people that there's always going to be a way to funnel to or from the Foo Fighters that I think will carry that band pretty far. Yeah, I'd be hard pressed to find, and that's one that came from me being born in 1993. That band started and produced during my lifespan. And that's where I'm trying to find the band that'll do that during, we'll say 1993 is the timeline where I grew up that can do that.
They do have to check you at the door, though. Okay, that's the one thing that I mean, there's one person I could mention. I'm not mentioning him today because I don't know if I agree whether it'll continue or whatnot.
You have to now.
No, I'm going to mention somebody else instead.
Okay.
All right, from a similar band, from the same band.
Okay.
Because I believe relevance is relevance, and you have to be relevant, and you have to be you have to be unique. You have to leave an impression. And if it's a logo, that's pretty freaking low.
I don't think it's just that, but I think it helps.
No, because that puts you with Kiss. All right. All right.
But they're in that
realm. I don't revere these guys in any way, shape, or form in the music world as being like ridiculously talented and pattern this and pattern that. No. It's a low. I get what you're saying. I agree with it completely that it was marketing. They are more brand than they are band.
They're all
no
brand.
question, no
brand.
doubt, right?
100%.
But this just doesn't work for me. All right. I think there are people here that do better things and bigger things, and that's where people in our community of what we're doing, and that's kind of the reason I did the show. So I'll do the reveal. But I'd like a few more mentions before that. So does anybody have any other people that to talk?
I got two quick ones I want to throw out real quick. Get back to my list here. Here we go. Okay, two ones that haven't been mentioned. I think Michael Jackson will be around for quite a while.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whether I like him or not, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, exactly.
That'll live.
He started a form of music and a form of production. Listen to those albums again and again. You're going to be like, there's really not much going on beside the rhythm and beat.
But
there's really not.
I hear Thriller all the time, on radios or something on TV, or you hear
it never goes away. It never has gone away. It's not even it went away and it came back. It's always been
people using that to how they produce records. Drake. All these people are doing the same kind of Beyonce, all these guys. It's Michael Jackson started this. No question.
Agreed. That's a good one.
He'll be around for quite a while. And one other, which I have a few others, but they've either been mentioned or we've already got it. The other one, and we did talk about him, but thinking about him, this guy has been around since 56, 57. And even though the man is dead, he is still everybody knows who he is. Whether you're a 7-year-old child or you're 94 like me, Elvis Presley.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. He's not going to go away.
I mean, he's already in that list. It's infinity and beyond for him. It's infinity and beyond for the Nirvana. It's infinity and beyond for the Beatles. It's infinity and beyond Bob Dylan, right? The Stones.
Frank Sinatra.
Yes, also on the list.
Oh
Frank
yeah,
Sinatra,
for sure.
absolutely.
Good one.
He ain't dying, and he inspired a era of the people like Michael Bublé.
Yep, absolutely.
I think the
And
crooner
he keeps on. That will
and
never go away. You're
and
right.
people find a way to involve him. The rapper Logic, what's his nickname?
Yep.
Young Sinatra.
Sinatra.
And that's when he makes his side mixtapes and references.
Good one.
himself as
Good
that.
one.
You guys can
Absolutely.
you guys go to Vegas and look at all the variety shows.
Mhm.
They're all
Those are the
people
people they
who
mentioned.
are 40, 50, 60 years in the past, and they're doing. They got what is
Sold out shows of 80 people or more.
Yeah, at
That's
least. Well, sometimes 120. So hey,
You know who else I think will do it too?
Down at the Golden Nugget.
imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
Flattery.
Right.
Yeah.
I know, and I see you are all dyeing your hair blonde and growing it
The
out.
greatest form of liability too.
Yes, it
true.
is.
I
Oh
thi-
God, you're
I
such a
think-
Debbie Downer.
I'm cheating a little bit when I
Wah, wah,
say
wah.
this, but I think it applies. The boy band era that carried NSYNC and Backstreet Boys.
Vanilla Ice, yo.
I don't think so.
I
but
feel like
Rock-
those two, just for how they inspired shit like One Direction and things like that. I think them being the originals.
But they copied
How
it
much
off
they
of
draw.
the Four Tops and I mean, that already existed in the 50s and 60s. I think
Yeah,
it
But I
just
think
kind
those
of
two are more well known
That's
than
an
New Kids
interesting
on the
argument.
Block.
for your generation.
I mean, it'll be the tell all will be, and I tell my kids this every time because I try to listen to some of the stuff that they are, and of course it's usually single oriented. They never throw me an album, although I will go and listen to the album. I tell them, I go, this person is not going to be around 5 years from now, 10 years from now, not even 5 is probably quick, but there's just nothing else. So they are not leaving an impression. They're just doing a stint, or they're just they got lucky. I don't know what it is, right? I mean, one of these guys has more clicks than any person next. Even Stairway to Heaven doesn't have as many clicks as this guy has, right? But it's everybody who's like a follower that just says, well, everybody else is, I have to listen to it too. That's not what we're talking about here. It's not a popularity contest. It is, and here's the big reveal. None of these people, none of these bands are anything without us talking about them like we are today. If it isn't for us telling our kids or telling on this show or somebody else speaking about it, so your professor in music or your music teacher in high school or grade school saying, Andy Edwards made a wonderful video the other day, and he says he put on Jeff Buckley for kids. He's like, they wanted to know something they'd be blown away by. That would have been the last thing I would have given anybody. I would have never thought that. But he said they went, wow, it's something simple yet awesome that, and that's Tim Buckley's son. And these are the people that leave the impressions, but because it's good, because it has value, because it warrants discussion, because there has to bring something to the table that's either unique or done better than the originals, or trying to make some different type of statement. So, and the thing that you guys talked about, which was your music taste expands, right? I could have been in many discussions where I was like people would say greatest guitarist, right? And they're going to go Clapton.
It's all
blah,
the same
blah,
people.
blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there going,
They're not.
Buckethead. And people might think I'm crazy. Although several people in YouTube have already put them on the greatest shredder list of all time, top 3. Okay, they mentioned 2 other guys I'd never even heard of. Okay, so I got to go and experiment with them. But there was this one guy that I don't know, I didn't get. I don't know why, but I do now. And that's Jeff Beck. Jeff Beck will be more important 20 to 30 years from now than he was probably 20 to 30 years prior.
It's true.
Don't get me wrong. 20, 30 years ago, everybody else who knew what the hell they were talking about was talking about him. Mark Kulagowski was kind of Buckethead and Slash. And okay, Jeff Beck has his own sound. Nobody can duplicate that sound. His guitar playing is sincerely just
Brilliant.
I mean, right? Yeah. And it doesn't have to be over the top. It doesn't have to be
subtle.
shit's on fire and crap, and he's not playing with an electric saw. Okay,
Right.
I will tell you that on the Shredders, Eddie Van Halen wasn't even on the list of one individual, which was kind of stunning. But right, so Jeff Beck, the other guy who was in part of a band that you had mentioned, the other guy, I'm mentioning him instead. And that's Peter Gabriel. I think in 20 to 30 years from now, you're going to see something of the effect that Kate Bush had. Peter Gabriel songs get played in a lot of television shows, a lot
they
of
do.
movies, because they're sincere, they're so deep, and the melody is not standard.
Right.
The compositions are not standard. I think that he is one of those guys that when we go back 20, 30 years now, somebody's going to resurrect something and go, wow, and it's going
Yeah.
to become a bigger statement. Even in the older Genesis, kids get into that and go back. That's one that I had on my list.
Can I
will
go
also
complete?
say-
Can I go completely off the wall on this one?
Sure.
I was reluctant to mention the genre. I try to be more with the instrumental rather than the vocal or
Can I
production
guess what
side.
you're gonna say?
Go for it.
BC Boys.
You saw it, right? It's at 10 items.
I wasn't, but there's a conversation to be had about that one for sure. Because I wonder if they've tailed off a little in the younger group. But I was going to go with, well, there's really three names that came right to mind immediately, and it's Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem.
Eminem
I had
was-
Eminem.
Eminem is a definite.
I
There's no
had
question.
Eminem on my list. He
I
was number
think
2.
I still find a way that Dr. Dre will, just because all the different projects he's had.
Dre would be there as a producer to be reckoned with of all time.
Mhm.
You know, he'd be
Cool.
up there with Rick Rubin, Mutt Lange, guys that would be, and this new guy, Andrew Watt, who's resurrecting Pearl Jam, the Rolling Stones, Iggy Pop, and Ozzy. He's made those albums. So they're, yes, in the production realm, those are those
Ozzy.
kind of guys.
There's another one.
I had him
Yeah.
down on my list.
There's a legend and a
Yeah.
mystique where he's in that.
Yeah.
Does Dave
Interesting
Matthews
to
Band
see.
make it?
Well, he could because he's so tied to so many things himself. Black Sabbath, that does, yeah. So
Elton John.
these, I mean, he would probably already on his way to that. I mean,
The only other
him,
ones I
Billy
had were
Joel.
like Chris Cornell / Soundgarden and Guns N' Roses.
Guns
Yeah,
N' Roses
Guns
and
N'
Motley
Roses
And of
Crue.
course
be
you
an
too, because they're
excellent-
like globally.
Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue were kind of in my realm too.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Longevity, even though we're trying to debate this question, only 20 years is going to tell.
But you know what's not going away? And I'm so happy because in 20 years, I'm going to play it on a vinyl. ABBA.
You may be the only one. You may be the only one.
The resurgence is now for them too. So,
we can go to the ABBA holographic show in Vegas.
No, I'm busy that day.
I'm only listening if it's backwards.
I'm going to be sitting somewhere cracking a beer. I'll
Chill
be hanging out with
ABBA.
Jeff next to wherever his stone is. And I'm just going to be singing,
God.
"Lucky, lucky, lucky, Jeff's giving me the finger."
So, I mean, what do you think out there? Who are those that we should be thinking about? I mean, that's one of the things I'm always looking for when I listen to a band. It's like 20 to 30 years from now, am I going to put this record back on? Am I going to talk about it? Is somebody else going to talk about it? The Taylor Swift album this weekend, we'll be talking about it. Good or bad or indifferent.
Mostly indifferent.
I don't know. You'll have to tune in. I think it's going to be an interesting show. That's all I've got to say.
Yes, yeah. I want to thank our panelists for doing this new show with us. Of Sound Minds will return next month, where we're going to talk about concert ticket prices, artists, shows. Are any of these people worth the price? Really?
Oh.
Although, and we
One.
will mention those artists that don't charge an arm and a leg, and you can go see them, and you'll
Yes.
actually see more shows that way, and probably have money for your mortgage or your car.
I was
if
about
you
to
did
say, and
well.
you'll afford a home one day.
That's correct. That's right. You won't be
Exactly.
living home with me. Don't live home with me. get out of my house. Don't go to a concert that's $1,000. Don't go.
No.
No. You need a car. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Articles, video, podcasts, all about albums, artists, and bands. Before you go beyond the radio with us, just realize one thing. We're only a few subscribers from 100. There's 100 people that have subscribed nearly. All right, we're getting close. And we're
I'm
approaching
4 of them. Look at all my names.
Hey, multiple personality disorders, we beckon you. Please open up multiple accounts for all your friends and all your friends and those friends and those friends. Go
And
beyond
my
your radio
5.
with us, a real music appreciation channel. Until next time, happy listening.
Bye.